Good evening, Steve.
Good evening, Phil. How are you?
All right.
How you doing, Steve?
Good. How are you?
Okay.
You got some snow up on the mountain, Phil?
Oh, yes, we certainly do. Just enough to make it wet, sloppy, and cold, but as long as you don't have to shovel it, who cares?
No, it's just plain messy. It's typical Pennsylvania winter and it just won't quite quit. And on Monday, I was in Harrisburg walking around without a coat on and now look at it.
I know. Don't you love it?
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. But I guess we always have to keep in mind, no matter how bad things are, there's some other poor soul that has it worse than us. So
Yeah, just turn on the news. I mean,
Yeah,
at least you don't
that's
have to, at least you don't have to evacuate
That's what
your
I was
country.
thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, that I worked with a friend and he used to have a saying, when anything goes wrong, you ask yourself two questions. Has anybody died and is anybody gonna die? And if the answer is no to both of those, get over it and figure out how to solve the problem.
Yeah, I think he has a point.
Yeah, he did. Okay, we're ready. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March meeting 2022 of the Zoning Hearing Board for the City of Reading. I'm Phil Rubina. I'm the chairperson, and I'm going to have the members of the board and the city introduce themselves. Jeff? You're muted, Jeff.
Jeff Catone, member of the board.
All right. Tom?
Tom Fox, member of the board.
Bill?
Bill Harst, member of the board.
Jared?
Jared Bartz, member of the board.
Okay. Steve?
Steve Price, solicitor to the board.
Emily?
Emily Diaz Melendez from the zoning office.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. We do have a rather lengthy agenda tonight, so we're going to get started. One of the things that I would like to do is introduce a new member of the Zoning Hearing Board, Mr. Charles Jones. And Mr. Jones has been part of this city for many, many years, and he is considered an alternate to our board. But we're going to welcome him anytime he can tune in and be part of it. So, Mr. Jones, you want to say hello to everybody?
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to serve on the zoning hearing board. As Phil said, I've been involved in the city for a long time and actually grew up here. So I know Reading quite well.
Good. Well, thank you. All right. What we're going to do is issue decisions for our meetings last month. The first was Appeal 2021-33. That was 1029 Buttonwood Street. Mr. Price.
Is there a motion to approve the relief requested, subject to the conditions set forth in the written decision?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second,
Other questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the next appeal. 2022-01, 1725 North 5th Street. Mr. Price.
Is there a motion to approve the relief requested, subject to the conditions set forth in the written decision?
So moved.
Second, is there a second?
I'll second.
Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I
Ayes have it.
Appeal 2022-02, 427 Rosenthal Street. Mr. Price.
Is there a motion to approve the relief requested, subject to the conditions set forth in the written decision?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Other questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so one opposed. Ayes have it.
This is Appeal 2022-03, 341 Hazel Street.
Is there a motion to approve the relief requested, subject to the conditions set forth in the written decision?
So moved.
Is there a second?
second,
Are there questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? All opposed? Okay, ayes have it. Thank you.
All right. Appeal 2022-04, that 1118 Chestnut Street.
Is there a motion to approve the relief requested, subject to the conditions set forth in the written decision?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
second,
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Ayes have it.
Appeal 2022-05, 1008 Penn Street.
Is there a motion to approve the relief requested, subject to the conditions set forth in the written decision?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we will begin our hearings for this evening. This is Appeal 2019-15, and it involved 218 West Greenwich Street, and the applicant and his attorney are requesting a delay until the June meeting. And I am going to make a motion to grant that extension until the June meeting. And anybody on the board, give me a second on that.
second,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, hearing none. So you have your extension until June, and normally we will grant only one extension. So any questions? I see Mr. Stock is present. Do you have any questions, sir? Okay, thank you. All right, the next is Appeal 2022-06, 315 Pine Street. Would you swear in our zoning officer, please?
You swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You're muted.
Okay, has notice for this appeal been given?
You're muted,
I'm sorry, I said I do. And yes, notice has been given.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Price,
All right, I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended.
okay, thank you. All right. Is the applicant present? Let's see, I have-
She's with me. This is Edwin Stock.
Okay. All right, you want to introduce your appearance, enter your appearance, and then we will swear her in, and then you can proceed.
Certainly. This is Edwin Stock. Rick Stock Law, 50 North Fifth Street, 4th floor, Reading, PA 19601. And I have with me, seated to my left, Nisita Melendez, who is one of the owners of 315 Pine Street. Not on the camera, but seated to my right is the other owner, Sergio Sibri. I only will have Ms. Melendez testify.
Okay, you want to swear her in, Sandra?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, sir, you can begin.
Would you give us your name, please? Tell,
Nexita Melendez.
and where do you live?
I live at 315 Pine Street, Reading, PA 19602.
And with whom do you live at that address?
I live with Sergio Sibri.
And who are the owners of that property?
I myself, Nexita Melendez, and Sergio Sibri.
How long have you and Mr. Sibri owned that property?
For 1 year,
And did you reside in that property before you became the owner of it?
yes,
And how long in total have you resided in that property?
12 years.
Now, we're here tonight seeking, you understand, a special exception from the zoning ordinance,
Yes,
and that's for enclosure of a porch, correct?
yes,
Did you in fact enclose the porch?
yes, I did.
And did you get a zoning permit in order to do so?
No, I didn't.
And can you tell us why not?
I didn't get a permit because the porch already existed and nothing of the porch, any structure or anything of the porch was going to be touched. So I honestly didn't know I needed a permit for that. I understand if it was a new one, then it'll be different, but not being an existing one for the past years I've been living there. I didn't think I needed one. I really didn't know.
And when it was brought to your attention that you needed a zoning permit, did you apply for one?
Yes, sir.
And you were denied and then appealed to the zoning hearing board?
Yes, sir.
Just briefly tell us, what did the porch consist of before it was enclosed?
Just the floor and the awning, the top, and the poles.
Post that held up the awning?
Yes,
And tell me about the enclosure. Who, first of all, when was the enclosure, when was it done?
October of 2021.
And who did the work?
Sergio Sibri,
One of the property
one of the
owners?
property owners.
And just, I know there's a photograph attached to Exhibit 4, which is the application. I'm going to show you the photograph. Does that photograph depict the enclosed porch from the outside?
Yes,
And then there's a sketch attached to Exhibit 4. Did you prepare that sketch?
yes,
And does that sketch show the dimensions of the enclosure?
yes.
And in width, how wide is the enclosure?
5 feet on each side and 10 in front.
So 10
10 feet,
10
sorry.
along the front and 5 feet in depth.
Yes,
All right. And is there any heat, utilities, electrical, plumbing, or anything, like that in the porch?
no,
So it's just basically an enclosure?
yes.
And who actually did the work?
Sergio Sibri.
Okay,
Oh,
The
the co-owner of the home.
okay. And what do you use the porch for?
After COVID, we needed a space outside or some natural lighting, and we decided to close it in. And also it saves the porch from getting any rain or snow. And so I feel like it values more the home, and that's why we did it.
Are you able to use the porch year round?
Yes, well, not when it's extremely cold or extremely hot, but uncomfortable weather, and only weekends is the only time we could enjoy it.
All right. And are there any other enclosed porches on your block of Pine Street?
No, there's not.
Are there other porches?
Yes,
In your view, does this porch detract or serve as a negative in any way for the block?
I don't think so. I think actually it does. I got a lot of compliments over it because it's different, and it to me is I feel like it's beautiful. The block makes it look nice.
I think that's all I have, sir.
Okay, how about members of the board? Let's start with them. Mr. Gattone, any questions?
No questions?
Mr. Bars, any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Okay, Mr. Mr. Fox,
I have no questions.
Mr. Harsh?
No questions?
Okay, and I really don't have any either. I think you've given us the appropriate information that we need to make a decision. Now, the next question is there anybody in the audience who is a neighbor who would like to comment on this? Or first of all, ask any questions, and then later on, we'll see if there's any comments. So are there any neighbors who wish to ask questions of the applicant? All right, seeing none. Anybody who wishes to testify for or against granting the appeal? Again, pardon?
Yes, I do.
Okay, sir. You want to give us your name and your address, please?
Yeah, I'm the homeowner across the street from her, 308 Pike Street. I'm right across from her.
You
Yeah, I'm
need to
just,
swear-
And what,
You need to be sworn in first. sir.
yeah,
Please raise your right hand.
yeah. I
Do you swear
swear,
this, do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes.
State your full name again, please.
Robin Placencia.
Thank you.
okay. All right, sir. Are you in support or not in support of this, and why?
Yes, I'm in full support of the work she's doing. You know, the house, you know, it looks beautiful. It brings value, you know, to the block, and you know, I own the property, so I'm in full support.
Thank you, sir. We
Okay.
appreciate your comment. All right. Mr. Stock, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I don't object to any of the exhibits. I don't know if they were actually moved into the record, but no objection to the exhibits.
All right, that's fine. All right, anybody on the board, any comments or questions? If not, I'll close this appeal and we'll move on. So thank you, and we will issue a decision at next month's meeting. I don't know whether we'll be in person or not, but the decisions are mailed to you. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. The next matter before us is Appeal 2022-07, 2300 York Street. Is the applicant present?
Yes,
Pardon?
yes,
Okay. Would you swear in our zoning officer?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes.
Okay.
Por eso como tanto servir que lo cierres a mí ya que ya porque no vamos a ver qué bueno porque
Excuse me. Hey, I don't know who's talking, but we can't have that. So anyway, did we swear in our zoning officer?
We did.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Price.
All right, I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended.
Okay. Is the applicant Latita Roncia, are you present?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
that Leticia is my first name and Marina is my second name and Ronsa
Okay.
is my family
And I
name.
think she thinks she's sworn in, but I'm not sure that you did swear her in.
She's
I-
sworn in. Yes.
All right, then you're fine. All right, what do you want to tell us about your project here with your 6 chickens?
So, for us, those chickens are pets. I'm living with my parents. They are Romanians, we are Romanians, and they are pretty old. And those chickens really help them with the I would say, day by day task and day by day do something to keep them going at their age, because they do not have too many other options and possibilities by themselves. That's one. They grew up with them. They enjoy them. And of course, we enjoy the eggs too. But they are like pets for us. They had names. We had them, few of them, and we get an approval for them at one point from Michelle Smith for the Animal Control Board. But then I did not know that I have to make the application to the zoning. So right away, I did the procedure and I went through all that. And the location of them is actually, we purchased this lot. Is an empty lot, 2300, excuse me. York Street is it's an empty lot. We will never build on this lot. The reason why we'll remain like that is because we have the septic, a part of the septic on this lot connected to the other lot property on 2329 High Street. So it is pretty big. It is about a third of acre, and the distance between us and all the houses around is more than 50 feet away. And in two sides, we have the Carpenter Technology Corporation that are far from us. And yeah, so those are the reasons why we consider that we would like to have them, and I hope that you guys will let us have those chickens for us. Like I said, my daughter went through a school in New Jersey to be specialized, so to have a diploma to know how to grow chickens. I laugh about that, but that's what was the requirement there. And we bought them from the store. We had everything in place about the how we dispose everything. Actually, I'm planning to build a nice garden, and this will help with the garden too. And when we had few of them last year, we put them around of the trees, the ones that they had those nasty bugs that came in America from overseas. And we tried for 5 years to fight against those bugs, and the chickens did the job for us last year. So it's not just, the fact that they're pets for us and for my parents it's a very good thing at their age to have them around the house. I can't really have dogs. They are too big and they will trip on the dogs. They will trip on every other animal, but chickens are enclosed. It's easy to go and pet them and have fun with them. So I don't know if you guys have any questions for me about this.
Okay, I'll start with the board members. Mr. Gattone, questions?
Okay, I just real quick, I've been looking at the diagrams. First question, I take it that lot, it's a separate lot. How close is that lot to your home? You don't live on that lot.
It's attached to, it is a portion that is attached to my lot where the house is.
All right, I was sort of, okay, that. Now the second thing, do you happen to have, there's a drawing, would you happen to have, there was no, unless I missed something in the documents we received, there's no picture. The shed I see is 5 by 5 by 7. Is it, it's a
that
shed?
is the coop. That is the coop. The shed, it is 11 by 12 by
Right,
9.
Okay, the coop. And is that, is the coop protected from the public? I mean, is there?
It is, like I said, it is more than 50 feet or probably 100 feet between the coop and the houses, the other two neighbors' houses. So it is, first it is between that lot and my one, and my other, one of the neighbors that is in a high street. It is a 20 feet paper lane, and between my lot and their lot, and then their house is far from that lane too. So, and I have an easement on the lot, so now nobody, I can't sell it separate. I can't because of the nature of the septic. They will go together, but they are separate lots, kind of, you know, the property.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's the connection between the land with my house and the one that doesn't have any structure on it, just the shed, is 50 feet wide.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bars, any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Mr. Fox, question.
Yes, just to confirm the number, how many chickens are there now there?
I have nothing because after at this point, so I give them away right away when the zoning said that I have to go through the process. At that point, I had the approval from the Animal Control Board, but the zoning office said that is not enough. I need to go through the zoning. So I give right away everything that I had, and now it's nothing here.
How many chickens, if we approve this, how many would you have, and would you increase the number at any time?
So when I was approved, then I was approved for 18 chickens, but I don't really need that much. 6 chickens will be good for my parents and I to play with and enjoy.
But if we approve your application, would you limit it to 6 chickens?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Did we lose Phil?
Yeah,
Well, let me ask a question if I may. Are you there, ma'am?
Yes, yes, I am.
You actually own that lot in an LLC, correct?
Correct. So the reason why I own them on a LLC now is because last year I divorced from my partner, that we own this on our personal names, and then I had to do the septic, and to do the septic, I had to go through to get a loan to do that, and the only way I could at that time, it was through a business loan. So I had to transfer at that divorce, and to be able to do the septic, I had to transfer everything in a business name so I could get that loan to resolve the septic situation. But it's just me on that LLC, nobody else.
And
At this point, I'm the owner.
Okay, that septic system services the house that you live in, right?
Correct.
Right, okay. And that paper lane that's between your house and the place where the septic system is, the lot where the septic system, that's not paved or anything like that. It's just dirt and grass, right?
Correct. So in this neighborhood, in other areas, they do use that lane, but in this particular part of the neighborhood, nobody on the here used, or it was never used. So we had no idea that actually that exists, and we find out later, you know, that exists. So if you come at the to look at it, you will not realize that it is a lane there.
What portion of Carpenter's Technologies are you close to? Is it the offices or is it the plant?
It's the plant.
Okay, and are you near River Road or are you near Center Avenue?
River, so I am, so it is going on River Road. So it's a second, you take a second right on River Road from, yeah.
That's what I thought. I thought you were on the other side of the river. Okay.
No, yeah,
Okay, good. Thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
Okay, I apologize for that. I didn't have my computer plugged in. So where are we, Mr. Price? I don't want to interrupt what you're doing.
I think Mr. Gatone, Mr. Bartz, and Mr. Fox had asked questions. I asked some questions. I just wanted to get situated where the property was located. It's off River Road, actually,
Okay.
Mr. Rabina. So I don't have any more questions. If you or Mr. Harps do, feel free.
All right. Mr. Harsh, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Jones, do you have any questions?
No question.
Okay, and I have none. Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions related to this application?
I do.
Yes, my name is Coleman Schneider, here to help Marina.
Okay, now hang on just a second. All right, it's just a question, not whether you support it or you don't support it. So we need your name and your address first.
I think he said he was.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Phil, I think he said he was going to testify in support.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, I'm sorry. My apologies.
All right. Does anybody have any
I'd like to-
questions? Go ahead.
I do.
And your
My
name?
name is Dorothy. My name is Dorothy Zuno. I live on River Road in Reading, and I know exactly where the property is. And we've already had a chicken problem in the neighborhood.
Well, you're testifying.
So
now.
my question is, she had stated she wanted them because they were aged and they wanted to just let them be there for pets, but they're already not there, is my understanding.
Well,
She testified that she removed them when the zoning officer said that they weren't permitted. That's why she's here in front of you.
Right. So if they were of old age to keep them with as pets, I don't understand, is she just going to go get them back?
Well, what is your address on River Road, ma'am?
My address is 2501 River Road.
And how close are you to this property?
I walk my dog around that neighborhood, usually around every day.
Well, I mean, are you 100 yards?
So I would say probably 2 blocks, 3 blocks.
Okay. And so she's here to get or ask for relief to have the chickens there. She voluntarily removed the chickens when she was told she wasn't in compliance with zoning. So,
Okay.
okay.
So my question was just, she said they were old. That's why she wanted to have them. But
I do not-
apparently she doesn't have them. I've had to call a game warden to come get a chicken out of my yard. I've lived here 13 years and I've had to call. There's chickens up the road on River Road, 2 houses up. Their chickens were out front. So my concern is more chickens in the neighborhood.
Well, okay, so that would be your testimony. You're against chickens. In the
No,
neighborhood.
not necessarily against chickens. In the neighborhood, yes.
Okay.
all right.
And my
Okay.
question would be,
Mr. Rabin, I have a question. I want to make certain I understand her question. When she said she thought that they were old, not to being facetious here, were you referring to the chickens being old or the fact that the woman requested them as pets for her elderly parents?
No, what I heard in the meeting was she said the chickens were of old age. If
Oh,
she
okay,
had
no.
referred her, okay, that's what I heard,
All
and
right.
they were pets.
No,
Has
she
nothing to do.
wanted them for her elderly parents. That's
Right. Right.
that's what I took from it.
That's it.
Okay.
Did
All right.
you have,
Yes, sir. And if I can interfere here, the chicken stays, always stay, they don't go away 3 blocks. If they stay around of the house. They never fly so far or go so far. And if there were any there, they were not mine. She's very far from me. So River Road is far from me. I'm at the top of the hill here. And when I had them in the back. They never went on the street going anywhere.
and your request today is that you will keep them in an enclosure so that they cannot wander off your property.
Correct. What happened is when because of the big work that we did, they were like they brought big machineries, and there were 4 huge 1,000-gallon tanks that they had to go into the property. So it was very, very hot for 2-3 weeks, and because of the weather, we had to move the chicken coop from where they were in the back on the property here in a little bit towards the front, and we had to have an enclosure that was electric fence that unfortunately when it rained very, very hard, the poles came out of the ground, and maybe once or twice they were loose, but they were staying near my house. They never went anywhere. And after everything was done with the work, we moved them back in the back, and we had a big construction to hold them high, 8 feet high, with nets, because we were afraid of it's pretty wild here in the back. We have a lot of deers and other animals, and we were afraid of the big birds to come and kill them. So we had to keep them enclosed because of that, for the protection of them, you know.
Okay, thank you. I think we can move on at this point. Did that answer your question, ma'am?
Somewhat, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there anybody who wants to testify for or against? I think there was one other person. Mr.
That would be me, sir.
All right,
Okay.
will you please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
We
State your-
need your name and your address, please.
So my name is Coleman Schneider. I don't live in Reading. I'm in New Jersey. I am actually her son. I'm here to just give some information about how she will be handling the chickens. I am a big support in that. I have my own chickens, so
Well-
would you like me to start now, or?
Well, I think part of the problem is that under Pennsylvania law, you have to have a direct interest, I believe, in the property and so forth. Mr. Price, am I correct in this?
Correct.
Okay, but.
So she's my mother-in-law, so wouldn't I have a direct interest in that property at that point? No.
Not really, not under the law.
Okay.
We understand, okay. I think we understand the connection, and we understand the purpose of what you want to do. But
I'm really just here to give some additional information on how she will handle the chickens.
Well,
just because I don't think she fully touched on everything, but if you don't
I
want that,
don't
that
know
is.
that we need any
completely
more
understand.
information, to be honest. I
Okay.
think we pretty much know, and I think she has a handle on what is desired. And I think we have enough information to make our decision when we have to sort these things out. So
Okay.
we
right.
thank you, but I need to be honest with you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to add or comment on? If not, that will close this appeal. We'll issue a decision at next month's meeting. The decision will be mailed to you. You don't need to be present or to attend. So thank you.
Sir, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for
Okay.
everything, for your support. Thank you.
Hi, just wanted to let you know the interpreter is on the line. I had a little trouble connecting at first, but I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
Nice to see you.
I'm here.
The next appeal is 2022-08. It is 414 Moss Street. It's Christ Embassy International Church seeks a special exception approval and an appeal of the January 11th, 2022 zoning officer's determination to use a portion of the first floor of the subject property as a place of worship. The property is located in an R3 residential zoning district, and the owner of record is UGC LLC. Is the applicant present?
Yes, sir. The applicant is here.
Okay. Would you
And
swear our zoning officer, please?
Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
No, sir, we're swearing in our zoning officer. We'll get to you in a few minutes.
Okay.
All right. And Mr. Price.
Thanks. I'll put some exhibits into the record. Pardon me. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended.
Okay, and okay, now, sir, you want to give us your name and your address? I'm assuming that you're going to present the application. Is that correct?
Yes, and I also have a legal representative present on the call.
Okay. We
my
swear
name-
you in first.
Okay.
Do you swear that, please raise your right hand. Do you swear that what I'm about to give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Your name.
Okay, and you'll be representing the appeal, is that correct? You don't have an attorney or anybody?
Yes, sir. I'm here. I represent Christ Embassy International Church.
Okay, do you want to enter your appearance, please?
Yes, sir. My name is Joanne Ruglowitz. My address of record is 342 North Queen Street, Building D, Lancaster, PA 17602.
Okay, and are you an attorney? And I just need to know, are you? an attorney?
Yes, yes, sir. I am.
Oh, okay, all right, that's fine. So then I will let you proceed.
Thank you. Can you please state your name for the record, sir?
My name is Fidelis Ehela.
Are you here on behalf of Christ Embassy International Church?
Yes, I am.
And this is with respect, you applied for a zoning permit to use the property at 1414 Moss Street as a place of worship. Is that correct?
Yes, part of the first floor.
And is Christ Embassy the owner of the property?
No, we leased the property from UGC LLC.
Okay, thank you. And we're here because,
Ms. Ruggles, can I ask you a question?
yes,
In the application, it said it was proposed to be used as a daycare center. Has that changed?
No, we are not using it as a daycare center. It's a place of worship, and it's going to have a conference room and a pastor's office.
Okay.
yes. Mr. Price, do you have anything else? I don't want to.
Ms. Ruggles, I'm sorry, I just wanted to clear this up in my head because
Okay, no problem. And you have a lease with UGC LLC for the use of this property.
Yes, I have.
And
Yes,
You're leasing the whole building or just the first floor?
a portion of the first floor, not the entire first floor.
Okay. And can you just tell us a little bit about, do you currently have parishioners through Christ Embassy where you're worshiping somewhere else and you just want to use this facility, or how this will occur?
We have been using part of the YMCA on a
Okay.
use as available basis. What I'm just looking for is to have a permanent place where worshipers can come to without coming into the church in the morning and discovering that the hall that we thought we're going to be able to use has been taken over by somebody else. So
Okay.
I'm just looking for a permanent place for the church.
Great, thank you. And you, I believe in your application, you say you have approximately 50 members, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I see that based on the zoning, that if there would be 50 members, you would need 13 parking spaces. I
Yes,
believe
that
that's
is
correct.
That is correct.
And I know, I noted from the denial that you also needed permission because your landlord also owns the parking lot adjacent to the building, is that correct?
Yes, he owns the parking lot adjacent to the building.
Okay, and excuse me, I'm just new to the case. I assume that the amended lease has been submitted as an exhibit with the application?
Yes, I did. I did submit
Okay.
that.
Okay. And are you going to be doing, you said it will be on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 12 noon and Wednesdays from 7 to 9 p.m., correct?
Yes, every Sunday from 10 to 12 noon, apart from the first Sunday of the month when we have a global communion service that could extend till 1 p.m. And then on Saturdays in the evenings from 6:30 to 8:30 or from 7 to 9 p.m., a 2-hour Bible study on Wednesday evenings.
Okay, thank you.
You said Saturday. Now then you finished with Wednesday. Is it both Saturday and Wednesday?
No, on Sundays we have services in the mornings, and then on
Yes.
Wednesday we have Bible study in the evenings. It's
I did hear
Sundays
you.
and Wednesday. It's Sundays and Wednesdays.
Okay, I did hear you say the word Saturday. That's all right. Wednesday. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and
Thank you,
then
sir.
you will just be conducting just normal worship services at the location and maybe, you know, some prayer groups and like you said, Bible study, but that's the extent of the activity planned for this location.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have anything further.
Hey, just to be very clear here, I'm going to go back to what Mr. Price said. We are talking about a church and worship services. We are not talking anything at all about a daycare center. Am I correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's see if the board has any questions. We'll start with Mr. Gattone.
Okay, just a reminder that we're going to be talking briefly a little bit about parking. When we did an appeal so that we were familiar with that building and that parking lot because we approved something for those upper floors. Where are you going to enter your church? You're going to enter on, is the entrance or the door on Moss Street?
The entrance is going to be on Moss Street.
Okay, and then you're going to have your members park on that parking lot.
Yes.
Okay, and I read on that you do have some kind of an arrangement that you can, the thing will be empty on a Saturday or Sunday morning. There's a lot of parking there, so you have permission you're going to be using that for your area to park.
We have permission, which is an addendum to the lease, and I submitted the addendum from the landlord permitting us to use the parking surface that he also owns. So we are not going to be parking on the street.
Okay, I didn't see that addendum, so but I guess that'll be part of our record. So Mr. Price will make certain that we see that.
And just to clarify, there's a reason in my packet, the owner of this property is the owner of a property that's coming up in 2 more hearings. And I think it just got substituted in my packet. That's why I was confused when I saw the zoning permit request. So
Okay.
that was my mistake.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Bars, any question? You're muted. All right.
I do not have any questions.
Okay, Mr. Fox, question.
I have no questions.
Mr. Harsh?
No questions.
Okay, Mr. Jones?
No questions.
Okay, and I don't have any questions. I think one of the critical issues, of course, is parking, and that seems to have been covered. Now, is there anybody in the audience that has any questions of this applicant? Just question. All right, seeing none. Does anybody in the audience wish to testify for or against this application? Again, seeing none. So unless anybody from the board or zoning has anything to say, I'm going to close this appeal. We'll issue this decision at next month's meeting. You need not be here. The decision will be issued to you in writing.
Thank you, sir.
we
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, you too.
Right.
All right. The next matter before us is Appeal 2022-10, 322 Walnut Street. Carlos Reichert seeks a special exception approval and an appeal of the February 10th, 2022 zoning officer determination for adaptive reuse of the existing building into 4 dwelling units and variances for additional efficiency apartment and off-street parking requirements, or as a prior non-conforming use, which had previous approval as a daycare center, which was more intense than the residential use and the relief for dimensional variances. Okay, would you swear in our zoning officer, please?
Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank
Has
you.
notice for this appeal been given?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Price.
Thanks. I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. Pardon me. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant present? Okay, are you represented by counsel? Do you have an attorney?
Yeah, the applicant is present and I'm representing the applicant.
Okay, do you want to enter your appearance and then we'll swear in the applicants or whomever you're going to have testify?
Yes, Joan London, Kozloff Stout, 2640 Westview Drive, YM missing 19610 for the applicant Carlos Kiela Rickard. I will have Mr. Kiela's wife, Evelyn Oviedo, primarily testify as she is the more English proficient spouse. We do have an interpreter who is here and available. And I will also have Miguel Herrera offer expert testimony in support of the variance and special exception.
Okay, in case we need to use our interpreter, do we want to swear her in at this time, Sandy?
Sure. Let's see her. Where is she?
Right
There you
here.
are. Will you please raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony that you will interpret truthfully and accurately to the best of your ability tonight?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Ms. London, proceed.
All right, thank you. I'm calling Evelyn Oviedo. Ms. Oviedo, could you state your full name?
She hasn't been sworn, I don't think. Will you raise your right hand?
Okay.
Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You don't have any volume.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to talk up and closer to the microphone, please. Okay,
Okay, Evelyn, get in closer to your computer or your phone, whatever you're using.
She might not have her audio connected as well. She might want to check her audio settings.
Okay, let me just I'll send a message in chat. Okay. All right, I've sent Ms. Oviedo a message through chat to check her audio settings. In the interest of time and keeping this going, why don't I call Mr. Herrera to testify?
Please raise your right hand.
Yeah.
Mr. Herrera,
I'm here.
do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
You're right.
Okay, Mr. Herrera, could you please state your name?
Miguel Herrera.
And could you tell us where you're employed and your job title?
I work with the Milan Consulting Group. I am a project manager,
Okay, and how long have you been in that position?
10 years.
Okay, I am asking that Mr. Herrera be qualified as an expert in the preparation of plans and ordinance interpretation due to his known experience and training known to the zoning hearing board from prior testimony.
Well, I think he'll be qualified or could be qualified by the zoning board with respect to his drawings of the interior or the exterior of the property. And he can discuss and offer his opinion with respect to the zoning ordinance, but with respect to surveying or anything like that, he can't come in on that.
Right, we're not asking about surveying, simply drawings and renderings that he's prepared as an architect.
Mr. Rabin, I'd recommend that the board qualify him with that respect.
Okay, we will do that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Herrera, are you familiar with the properties located at 322 Walnut Street and 144 Rose Street located in the R3 zoning district of the city of Reading?
Yes, I am.
There are several photographs that I would like you to be able to share on the screen if the moderator could allow Mr. Herrera screen sharing. These were provided to the zoning office this afternoon, and we'd like them marked as applicant exhibit 1.
Sure. You are talking about the exterior pictures of the building, correct?
The photographs that you sent earlier today.
Okay, yes, I do have those pictures.
Okay.
I also have them. I can put them up.
Okay, that would be fine.
Okay, actually, it might be easier if he does it, because it wasn't a document in the email.
Right,
so-
it was the email itself.
Yeah, so if he wants to share the photos, but I do then also have the plans here.
Okay.
So if you just hit share, then I'll give you permission.
Hold on a second, please. Okay, so what do I do?
Just hit share screen and then it'll allow me to give you permission.
Okay, I just did.
There you go.
Now?
Okay, yes, those are that is one of the photographs. All right, looking at the first photograph, do the photographs, and there will be 5 of them, do they show the current condition of the property?
Yes, they do.
Okay, could you please go through these 5 photographs and describe the current conditions to the zoning hearing board?
Yes, and just so you know, on this folder, I have more pictures than the one that I sent you, okay? I don't
just-
have it selected.
Okay. All right, we'll mark the ones that are used as an exhibit. Use the ones that you feel are most representative.
Okay, so bear with me, please.
Just to position me, is that Beckett's Barbecue right there at the corner?
Yeah, that is the back of that property. Yes, you are right.
Right, all right.
Yeah,
Miss London,
Yes.
Just a quick question. I want to make certain, because there were two things. There was a revised appeal, then there was, and then we had here for 4 dwelling units plus an additional efficiency apartment. But on
No,
this
the-
revised thing, I only see 4. What is
Right.
it?
It is 4. The amendment to the application was to allow a variance from the requirement of 25% only in efficiencies to allow 2 of the units to be efficiencies as opposed to 1 of the units. So it is 2 efficiencies, a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Herrera, do you have the photographs?
Yeah.
And could you describe the exterior condition using the photographs?
Sure. Okay, so this picture shows the property is right adjacent to the west side of the white property that we see on the screen. The restaurant that Mr. Price mentioned before. So the property we are discussing is the one that has the facade painted gray color. Does anybody can see it?
Yes.
Yes.
So it is an existing 3-story building. Let me go to the next property. This is
Is that another view of the property? Closer
Yeah.
view?
This is a picture from the front of the property. Shows the access.
Yeah.
There is an alley gate. There's a gate allowing access to the alley that goes to the rear. Okay.
Okay, and what the next photograph, what does that
This
show?
picture shows the rear of the property where we are proposing some of the parking spaces that are required. It is my understanding that the rear portion of that property is also owned by Mr. Kiala.
And does the rear portion of the property have the address of 144 Rose Street?
That is correct, yes. Okay, so this is another angle showing the alley coming from the front and the windows that are on the rear second floor and portion of the 3rd level on the front building, on the front portion of the building.
Right. And did you prepare a plan for the adaptive reuse of the property?
Yes, I did. And
Okay.
you guys
And-
possession of that file.
All right. And although it was attached with the application, I would like to have the plan marked as applicant exhibit 2. Could you please share that on the screen? I believe you already had it up.
Right here. So we have, I mean, it is a set of plans. We have different views as part of the set.
Okay, can you go to the first page, please?
Okay, yes. So this page shows the description of the project, the location, the contact information, location map, and vicinity map. Where you can see.
Now, does the vicinity map in the upper left-hand corner show the location and surrounding neighborhood?
Yes, it does.
And how would you describe the surrounding neighborhood?
Well, it is a residential neighborhood.
Okay. Would a use for 4 residential apartments be in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it goes accordingly and very well suits the purpose of the building.
Okay, now let's go to the second page, page CS 102, existing and proposed site plans.
Okay.
And looking at that second page, the 322 Walnut portion of the property is the part with the frontage onto Walnut Street, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And the 144 Rose Street property, that has the frontage onto Rose Street.
That is correct, yes.
And what is the width of that Rose Street frontage?
19 feet.
And can that be,
Sorry, I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
19 feet.
okay, and can that be changed or expanded?
No, I not to my knowledge.
Okay. Now we saw a photograph of what was described as the second property. Was that the Rose Street portion?
Yes,
Would the Rose Street portion be used for the off-street parking?
that is correct, yes.
Now, the bottom diagram appears to show parking. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now,
that's correct.
realistically, how many spaces would be able to be provided for the property?
Okay, well, we show to the best of our capabilities what may be possible, but it is tough to really have 5 parking spaces. In the best of the scenarios, we may be able to have 4 parking spaces.
And where would these be provided? If you could describe where and how these would be provided.
Of course, yeah. The view number 2 on this sheet shows that there are 3 parallel parking spaces shown along the, let's call it the driveway access to the property. And there might be some extra room for 1 more car at the rear of the building, using the space that is in between as the in and out ale driveway.
And now I see that you use a width of 8 feet for a parallel space. Is that what is shown on the plan?
That is what it shows, yes.
Okay, now how much room would that leave for the aisle?
11 feet.
Okay, and would that be a one-way aisle?
Well, unfortunately, yes, it will be just 1 way, but we will have to use it as 2-way. I mean,
Okay.
those are existing conditions that we cannot change.
All right, I am requesting, so being that it's 19 feet, so that would be an 11-foot wide aisle?
Yes,
Okay, I'm requesting to the zoning hearing board an amendment to the zoning application for an additional variance from section 1602F of the zoning ordinance to allow for an 11-foot wide aisle with the parallel spaces due to the pre-existing condition and the inability to change that in order to provide some off-street parking. And
Ms. London, let me just ask you a question. Where those 3 cars are parked perpendicular to Rose Street, is that a paper alley or what is that?
well, no,
no, that is where those cars appear to be parked. That is the property at 144 Rose Street. Rose Street is an actual street. This is not a paper alley. It's a property that does not have a building on it. It was the grass area that you saw in the photograph that Mr. Herrera showed.
All right, now I got it. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
can I say something? Actually, I have pictures of that space if you want to see them.
I understand now. That clarifies it.
Okay. Now there is
Could you
also an
just- Could you just clarify those? The picture, it's a nice drawing, but I cannot see those dimensions, and I'm a math guy. I got to see those numbers a little bit clear. Where the 3 cars are, what's the total, like the total distance of the opening?
From, okay, of the opening,
The total from the
total
there's-
width.
Let's say there's 2 arrows. The major, if you connect the 2 arrows, the 2 distance things, what's that total distance from one point to the other?
well, if you go from the, okay.
Miguel, it's the width. He wants to know the width from where the end of the passenger door of the parked cars and then to the end of the cartway where they would get ingress and egress out. Is it 19
you.
feet? Is it
19 feet.
19
19 feet. The total width of that portion is 19 feet, yes.
Okay, and then where the 3 cars are, what's that space there? What's that width where the 3 cars are parked?
The length of that dimension is 64 feet.
No, I'm sorry, the width.
Oh, the width of the spaces is 8 feet. Each
8?
space has a width of 8 feet, yes.
It would be a
8 foot,
width, it
okay.
would be a width of 8 feet and we're asking for a 1-foot deviation for variance for an access aisle of 11 feet.
That is correct, yes.
Because normally, Jeff, would it be 12 feet for the access aisle?
Okay,
Yes.
Now, along Walnut Street, there appears to be a car parked. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, that will be a proposed handicap accessible parking space that the owners will seek some sort of a permit from Public Works and have that space as a handicap accessible dedicated parking.
Okay, now let's,
Wait, you'll only need that though if there's a disabled person, correct? Do you need a handicap accessible space?
I believe there would be a requirement for a handicapped accessible space to be available in the event. And they're routinely provided with the permission of Public Works and the Streets Department.
But that could be done after the fact.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to the next page, which is existing floor plans. Okay, and could you describe what is shown on the existing floor plans?
Absolutely. Okay, so on the view number 1 of this page, we are showing the existing first floor plan, that all the dimensions are in there, and basically is showing that there are 2 existing, let's call them apartments. And the hidden lines, the segmented lines that you are seeing, are showing some minor modifications that will have to be done in order for the spaces to be converted into 2 efficiency units, meeting the required square footage.
Okay, now is what is there now reflective of a former residential use of this property?
Yes, it does show that there was some existing residential use on this space.
Okay, now go to the next page of the proposed floor plans, page A200.
This one?
Yes. Now, is that the plan for the apartments?
Yes, the view number 1 on this sheet that has the colors green and pink are showing the 2 proposed efficiency units on that level, each one with an area of 421 square feet.
Now, on the first floor are 2 efficiency units as you described, and we have requested a variance to allow 2 efficiency units as opposed to 1, a variance from the 25% of units rule. Are there existing conditions which preclude minimum square footage for 2 one-bedroom apartments on the first floor?
Yes.
And what are those conditions?
We have a limitation in the square footage. There's no way that we can accommodate 1 more one-bedroom unit because we don't have the square footage.
Okay, is the configuration of the first floor such that it would not work as 1 large apartment, for example?
Well, that could be something that could be considered. Yes.
Okay, would it be feasible though, in your opinion?
It'll be feasible for a 3-bedroom apartment.
It would not be feasible. Is that
No.
correct?
No, it will be.
Okay, well, the conditions though, are these conditions the way it is partitioned and put together? Is that a pre-existing issue to Mr. Ricard's purchase?
Let me go back to the previous page. This page shows the existing conditions of that floor. So that's how the property it is right now. So based on this, there's no way that none of those 2 units will meet the requirements.
Okay.
We have to do some reconfiguration of the space.
Okay, now just describe the apartment on the second floor. Does that meet minimum area requirements for apartments?
Okay, we have a similar situation. We have to reconfigure some of the partitions to be able to meet the minimum square footage requirement. And we will be able to obtain a 1-bedroom apartment and another efficient and a 2-bedroom apartment on the front.
Okay, now I'd like you to go to the next page, which is the proposed northeast and southeast views, and explain briefly what this shows.
Sure. View number 1 shows the second level of the front unit that is bi-level. In other words, there is a 2-bedroom unit that will be 2 levels, and that will be made out of the front portion of the second floor plus the 3rd floor. So views number 1 and 2, front portion are 1 apartment. View number 3 shows the proposed 1st floor that shows the 2 efficiency units. View number 4 shows the same 2nd level of the bi-level unit that is the 3rd floor on the front of the building. View number 5 shows the 2nd floor, which is a proposed efficiency unit at the rear of the building. And on the front portion, it shows the lower level of the 2 bi-level unit that has 2 bedrooms. And view number 6 will have a view of the 1st floor seen from another angle.
And
That
go to-
shows 2 efficiency.
Yeah. And go to the final page, which is A301. Could you describe what is shown there?
Of course. This is showing building 4 building sections of the existing conditions of the building. There are labels for every space, and every number has the configuration of units 101, 102, 201, 202 to identify the different units that we will have.
Okay, and are all of these units based upon the pre-existing conditions in the building?
Oh, no, this is a proposed, these are proposed building sections, and they are showing the proposed reconfiguration of the spaces to meet the minimum requirements we need for every unit.
Okay, and there will be no change to the footprint of the building?
No, there are no proposed changes to the footprint. The footprint will remain the same.
Okay, and will there be cosmetic improvements to the exterior as a result?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I have discussed that with the owners, and they want to make it the best that they can.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your answer?
Yes, they have expressed that they want to beautify the exterior of the building, applying textures or painting to the walls or replacing seals on the windows to make it look better.
Is this use as 4 residential apartments less intense than the prior permitted use as a daycare center, in your opinion?
In my opinion, yes, I agree with your
And
question.
why is it less intense?
I mean, this will be 4 units for people that will be hardworking people. It'll get into the units, I will say, by the end of the day. Different than a daycare use that is inconvenient, back and forth, in and out of people picking up and dropping off children. I have to say that this use is goes in accordance to the neighborhood character.
Are the parking limitations on the property a pre-existing condition unique to the property?
Yes, I mean, those are physical conditions that the owner did not create.
Okay, will the grant of the parking variances, provided that variances are needed, create any traffic congestion or inconvenience to the surrounding neighborhood?
I won't be able to tell you yes or no to your question, but I want to express something. This is a property that has the potential to provide parking for the tenants, which is nice. We don't see that happening very often in any other property. So we will be able to develop some parking spaces. And even if we may be short of parking spaces, there are some parking lots on the neighborhood that the spaces that are needed can be leased.
Okay, and Ms. Oviedo will testify further about that issue. Will, in your opinion, the addition of the 4 apartments change the character of the neighborhood in any negative way?
I don't think so.
And will there be positive impacts?
Well, I mean, it is a vacant property now, so it will become from a vacant property to an occupied building, which will change the color of the neighborhood and will make it better.
Right. And are all the opinions that you gave today rendered with a reasonable degree of professional certainty?
To the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Yeah, I have no further questions for Mr. Herrera.
All right. Does anybody on the board have any questions of Mr. Herrera? I can't see your faces, so just speak up if you have any questions of Mr. Herrera.
Okay, well, this is a weird good tone again. I just want to make certain that I have these, I could not read that drawing. It was 19 feet, the total opening of that, let's call it that big, the major driveway.
Correct.
And then the one was 8, and then it was mentioned 10 for the other part.
No,
Did I
11.
say-
It's a.
What am I missing?
Jeff, where the cars will park is 8 feet wide.
Yes,
Where the cars will enter and exit is 11 feet. That's a total of 19 feet.
yes,
The zoning ordinance requires a 12-foot width for entrance and egress. So they're asking for a 1-foot variance from that to make it 11 feet.
Yes. That is correct.
well, 8 feet and 11 is 19, so we already
Right.
have that.
Right, but they would need 20 to comply with the zoning ordinance. So they're asking for a 1-foot variance.
Okay. That's it, so the space really wasn't, all right,
It's 1 foot.
right.
All right. Now, anybody else on the board have any questions? Zoning officer, any questions?
I do actually, on where, those renderings, there's portions for, so if I'm looking at the southeast view, I'm seeing on the first floor that there are walls, or something to be removed. So if there's already going to be walls or something being removed, is there a reason why it couldn't just be opened up and have that be one larger apartment on the first floor instead of having 2 separate efficiency units?
So you're talking about this page, correct? The 100?
Yes.
First floor, right?
Yes, for the first floor, I'm seeing that there's going to be some kind of walls or some sort of structure being removed. So is there some sort of reason why certain partitions or walls or what have you, is there a reason why those couldn't be removed to allow for a dwelling unit that meets the zoning requirements?
Okay, so let me see if I understand your question correctly. You are saying that even if we don't remove those walls, we could achieve having a unit that will comply with the requirement?
No, I'm asking, since those walls and partitions will be removed anyways, is there a reason why others couldn't be removed in order to make that one unit instead of 2 separate units?
Yes, it could be, but it was the owner's desire to see if they could achieve having 2 efficiency units rather than just one. Yeah, but
So there wasn't any sort of undue hardship for that first floor to become a one unit that complies with the zoning ordinance. This was just a request from the owner.
well, other than, I mean, there should be, I mean, there will be walls that before we do a deeper exploration of what is structural and what is not, there might be implications on the cost that they have to go through to achieve those structural changes. But to keep it simple, yes, the whole space can be just one unit, but we also have the space to make it 2 units. So they wanted to have the 2 options presented.
Okay, and then another question, will the first floor have rear access? I do see that there is a doorway on the first floor to the rear of the property, but will the first floor have access to that door?
Yes, there is a door. That door that you are seeing on the first floor leads to the rear of the property.
Okay.
And also that's the second floor. The second floor unit has access to that rear stairwell that leads to the rear of the building.
Okay. No further questions.
Thank
All
you.
right, Mr. Price, any questions?
I have none.
Anybody in the audience have?
Mr. Chairman, it's Tom Fox. I do have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right. In reference, sir, to the parking, I see 2 cars for 5 spaces. I see 2 cars parked perpendicular to the building, facing the building, and I see 3 cars parked perpendicular to Rose Street. Now, how is somebody going to back out of one of those spaces if there's 2 cars? They can't do it.
Yes, if you're in the beginning of my testimony, I say that we did our best to interpret it, what could be possible based on the physical limitations on the site. And I expressed that maybe we will be able to pull out just 4 spaces out of those 5 that are being presented. Keeping in consideration what you just said, that there will be an space that will have to be, that is necessary for the cars to back up.
If there are 4 cars in there, if there's 1 less car, somebody is still not going to be able to get out, depending on where they're parked.
If may I will say yes. It'll be possible as long as those are small cars. That to say that if there is a pickup truck or an SUV, it'll be harder. But if it is a regular size, small size car parking those 2 spaces perpendicular to the building, I'm sure they will be able to pull out. But that is my interpretation. So we were just showing this to be able to have a discussion and some feedback.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anybody in the audience have a question? All right, seeing none. All right, Ms. London, continue.
All right, I'll call Evelyn Oviedo as the next witness. And to speed this up, Evelyn Oviedo is the spouse of Carlos Kiala Ricard, testifying as the spouse who is more proficient in the English language. She and her husband work together on all matters related to real estate that he owns. And they are seeking special exception and variances for the 2 properties which are on one deed, which were purchased in 2020. And the intention is to have the properties in the apartment use with the Rose Street property utilized for parking.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fine. Go ahead.
Okay, Ms. Oviedo, I'm gonna ask you some questions. First of all, with respect to the efficiency apartments being requested and the additional efficiency requested for the first floor, is it financially feasible to have 1 unit, 1 very large unit, as opposed to 2 smaller units?
Good evening, everybody. Well, our first desire, it would be to have 2 small efficiency. And in case it's not possible, we could have a chance to do it 1 large. And in talking about cost, I think the implication would be kind of the same. That's why we have the 2 options, because in both cases, the to meet the minimum requirement for 2 efficiency, the changes are just small changes. I think it's gonna be only 1 wall. In case of be a large apartment, I believe, and it's gonna all depend on the requirements, but I think it would be more intense repairs or modification to the apartment. That's what I believe. This is something that I could talk to Carlos about, that in case it will be required to be only 1 apartment, but we don't have any problem to do any financially changes to do either one.
To do either one. So in the event that the board would not see fit to approve the additional efficiency, you would be able to create a large apartment on the first floor in the alternative.
That's correct.
Right now, some questions have come up about parking, and I'm going to ask you about parking. You heard Mr. Herrera's testimony, you were present during Mr. Herrera's testimony, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And there is parking shown on the 144 Rose Street property. If you could not get the 4 spaces and you were only, for example, able to get 2 or 3 spaces, would there be additional parking available off-site for rental?
Yes, of course. Those are one of the things that we work the most to have available spaces to have parking for the possible tenants or possible owner of the building. And as a result of the study and sources we had around the area, couple of parking spaces for rent, and I can mention couple ones. For example, between Walnut Street and Washington Street, specifically in North 4th Street, that block is only half block up. We have 2 parking spaces or rental parking spaces that are available to rent for us. We also contact them. Also, we have Goggle Works, just a block down the street. We also have.
Can you repeat
outside
that?
the
You
street.
have, can you repeat that? I didn't hear that.
The word is Goggle Works?
Goggle Works.
Thank you.
We have Goggle Works 1 block down. We
And
have
did you inquire with Goggle Works about rental of spaces?
We then know actually, but actually I contact both of the rentals that are on 4th Street, which are closer to the building.
And were space rentals available?
Yes, yes.
Now would some of these locations be more than 300 feet away?
It's 300 feet.
You have.
Blown a half.
It's like, I'm not good at numbers, but it's 1 block up, is the street up to the right. I don't think it's even 300 feet, but
Now,
it's in the
for the record, we have requested a variance from that requirement. Do you believe that it would present any difficulty if a tenant would have to walk more than the 300 feet to access a rental space?
I don't think it would be a problem, just because we have our target market for that building is actually more young people that work around the area, especially now that we have the Arvania on College on a couple blocks there. We have that marketplace, but that market on thinking that will be no problem for any young people to walk around, to park. Not everybody have a car. We also have the bus stop nearby. So I don't think it will be such a bad impact on the building.
Now, we touched on this on Mr. Herrera's testimony, but how will you handle the issue of the accessible parking required under the ADA if needed?
Well, we have talked to zoning officials, and then we have agreed to work if we got approved for that, we can work with Public Works and request a accessible, like handicap accessible in the front. We all have to work on that after that.
Okay, now, regarding the parking, we are asking that the modification to the parking be handled by this board as part of the special exception on the adaptive reuse application, and that is specifically cited in our application. Do you believe that 6 off-street spaces, which is the required number at 1.5 in adaptive reuse unless modified, which can be done in the special exception application, but do you believe that that 6 spaces will be needed for this for the 4 apartments?
In my opinion, I don't believe it will need it, just because we can have other sources available for that building for people that need the parking. And also, like I said, our target market would be young people that work around the area, that can walk around, that can go to any work, or can even take a bus. And in that case also, we got resources around there that has, that can provide parking for rent.
Okay, I just want to confirm, is the building on the property is vacant right now?
Yes,
And also to confirm, do you and your husband intend to take any steps will change the footprint or dimensions or height of the building in any way?
no,
Is the building right now in compliance with the residential codes requirements?
no,
If granted the special exception and variances, will the building be brought up to all residential codes, including fire, electric, and plumbing?
definitely. And also would like to add, we have one of the few buildings around the city that gonna have the compliance with the fire marshal with the sprinkle system, which I think and believe is such a good thing for the neighborhood and for the safety of the people that will live there.
Okay, will the uses for apartments create traffic congestion or put too many people in one area?
No,
Will it have any negative impacts on the surrounding neighborhood?
I don't believe so.
And will the use have any benefits to the surrounding neighborhood?
Definitely, yes.
And what would those benefits be?
Well, especially because that building was empty for so long. I've been talking to some neighbors, especially our neighbor, the Becker Fried Chicken, and some other neighbors around the corner, even the grocery store owner, which they express us, thanks God you're taking care of that building, because before there was people going there, steal the pipes, people with drugs, and we have in just around the house or in front, we have a kids, boys and girls kids club, and they seen, people using drugs, and I believe for us to bring that building up to date and livable and have people living there is such a good thing for everybody around. We're gonna take away that negative impact in the area. More, we have something less negative around kids also. So I believe it will be so good.
Okay, those are all the questions I have for Ms. Oviedo.
Okay, let's start with the board. I can't see all of you, so anybody from the board have any questions of this lady?
Just real
Nope.
quick, if Miguel could stop sharing his screen, that way we could see the speakers. Thank you.
Okay. Any board members have any questions?
Can I make a comment?
Yes, Mr. Jones, please.
Okay, regarding the handicap space on Walnut Street, you probably would be successful at getting that approved, but I only want to point out that it's on a public street, so anyone with a handicap placard can use that space. It wouldn't be solely for your property.
I understand that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, if necessary, would you be able to make one of the spaces in the on the Rose Street property a handicapped accessible parking space?
We can request that to Public Works.
Right, but can you use one of the spaces? Can you make one of the spaces on the Rose Street property handicapped accessible?
Yes.
Okay.
All
I have
right.
another question. Since that was brought up, just I mentioned it. Some of the the apartments looks like they're very nice. Would it be feasible? Could you work it? Suppose it was down to 3 larger apartments. Would that be handleable? Then you'd only need 4.5 spaces.
Yeah, definitely. That's one option that we have in mind in case cannot be too efficiency. Then our other option is just make one large apartment in the first floor and then keep the 2 other as 2 apartments.
If in the event that the board would not grant the variances from the size or area requirements, would you agree to that in the alternative?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Price, any question?
No questions.
All right. Anybody in the audience have any questions of the lady that just testified? All right, seeing none.
Okay.
All right,
What
Ms.
I-
Logan?
Yes, what I would like to do is simply put Mr. Rickard under oath and ask him if he was present during his wife's testimony and if he heard and understood it, and if asked the same questions, would he give the same answers?
Do we really need that? I mean, she already tested, she's a property owner.
Well, she's not on the deed, but she works with her husband. So if the board doesn't require it, I won't do
We don't
so.
require it. We don't require it.
Yeah,
right,
I
thank
think
you.
We'll be fine.
All right.
Thank
well, that's
you.
fine then. All right, well, then I'll move for the admission of my exhibits, applicants' exhibits 1 and 2 with the 5 photographs and the plans and renderings.
Okay,
So
now,
admitted.
does anybody in the audience wish to testify for or against the granting of this application? Anybody in the audience testifying for or against this application? Seeing none, I'm going to close this appeal and we'll issue a decision at next month's meeting. You need not be here. The decision will be mailed to you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a
very
good
much.
night.
Have a good
Phil,
evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Phil, could we take a 5-minute break?
Yes, we can.
Okey dokey.
All right, 5 minutes, everybody, be back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would like to vote no.
Why would you- That mic is live. Okay, are we ready?
Ready?
Okay. All right, we'll unmute everybody and we'll get started here. All right, the next matter before us is Appeal 2022-11. It is 259 South 10th Street. It's Osvaldo Rosabal seeks a special exception approval to establish a daycare facility and a variance for off-street parking standards and any other dimensional variances or other variances that the board may be required at the subject property. The property is located in an R3 zoning district, and the owner of record is Rosabal Real Estate Corporation. Okay, is the applicant present?
Phil, if I may,
Yeah.
this was the subject of a prior zoning appeal where it was granted
Right.
approval as a daycare, and there were some conditions put on. I think because this board is the same board that granted it, I believe it was in 2018, they should just deal with the conditions that were imposed in the decision rather than go through the other stuff, because you already granted it as a special exception for a daycare, but there was conditions for parking and
Right.
and whatnot.
Well, that would be fine with me. Would the other board members concur with that? That we just deal with what the new issues are?
I
I agree with Steve.
All right, that sounds good. So that's the way we'll proceed. Is the applicant present or is he represented by counsel?
Good evening, Mr. Rubina, Attorney Scott Ho for the applicant.
Okay, that's fine. All right, would you swear in our applicant, please?
Your zoning officer first.
Yes, zoning officer first, I'm sorry.
Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Has notice for this appeal been given?
It has.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Price?
Thank you. I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended.
Okay, Mr. Ho, do you want to enter your appearance? And then anybody you're going to have testify, we'll swear them in at this point so we can keep moving.
Very good. Based on Mr. Price's recommendation, I think we can expedite matters. Attorney Scott Ho, President of Resolution Law Group, 606 North 5th Street, Reading, PA 19601.
Okay, and who are you going to have testify this evening?
Great. So let me present a quick overview, and I have previously submitted our exhibits, and I've pre-marked them A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, and A6. There are 3 witnesses that I'd like to call, but I'm going to defer to the chair and your solicitor and other board members as to how quickly we can move forward. And the reason for that is this is the exact same application and the exact same plans and the exact same plan designer. I represented the prior daycare center in 2018, and this board very kindly granted relief back at that time. The only differential is the prior applicant in 2018, Kitty City Daycare, did not have the funding for a fairly extensive renovation project. This is a very large size property. The property has now been sold to a very good and competent daycare provider who's already operating another facility. And in the exhibits that we provided, there's already a letter of credit from the bank that the construction funding is already lined up and ready to go. So we're just simply looking for the board to confirm its prior decision and move forward along those lines. And I do think it's important, to build some kind of record in the unlikely event there's some kind of appeal to common pleas, that we have the proper record. If the board's willing to stipulate, the admission of our exhibits A1 through A6, And I have a realtor to provide expert realty testimony. I have Mr. Herrera, and you've previously qualified him as an expert plan designer. He's also the plan designer for that. So if you want to get just straight to the conditions and dispense with that, that will speed your agenda. I just want to make sure that I've entered the proper evidence to, in case there's an appeal to common pleas, that I've provided a sufficient record.
The only things that are at issue are the conditions with respect to parking and whatnot that were set forth in the original decision. With respect to the plans for the development of the property and the fact that it's a pre-existing building, it was used for other commercial purposes, that's all in. The zoning decision from the prior application is part of the packet, is part of the exhibits. So I think just get to the conditions, Mr. Ho.
Okay, very good. So for anybody who's new to this discussion, I just want to provide 1 minute of history. This was the Washington Hose Company, a fire company that goes back to the 1800s. And like all of our volunteer fire companies, there's a beneficial association connected with it. So this particular property, this is at the corner of South 10th Street and Spruce Street. Amanda Stout, the first female superintendent of any school district. So Amanda Stout Elementary School is named after Amanda Stout, and that's located right across the way. This particular property is on the northeast corner of that intersection, and Amanda Stout Elementary School is on the southeast corner of that intersection. This beneficial hall is very large. It had a ballroom, it had a bar room, it had banquet facilities, it had bowling alleys. So it's quite large. It's about an 8,500 square foot building, each floor about 4,400 square feet or so. And the proposed daycare center, the building was built in 1921. It takes up the entire lot. There is no side yard. There is no rear yard. There is no off-street parking that can be provided on site. These are the existing conditions, and there's been no material change, certainly since 2018, but really since 1921. So to get to the heart of parking, one, the pickup and drop-off area, what we were previously working with the city was there's a 4 or 5 space lane that would be on-street parking. I want to distinguish, not off-street, but on-street. And that would be located along Spruce Street, adjacent to the building. And if you want testimony from the operator about how that pickup and drop-off area, but we're looking for assistance from the city to designate that as the drop-off and pickup area. The two tot lots are playgrounds. There is no outdoor space, so that they are located on the inside. There's a playground area on the first floor as well as the second floor. So there's 2 playgrounds. And under the state, as you're aware, certifies daycare centers. Indoor playgrounds are permissible by the state certification when there is no off-street or outside location available. We make the argument that because it is a non-conforming use, the strict application of any off-street parking spaces does not apply to this. It's a substitution of a non-conforming use. So the whole analysis of parking spaces does not apply. If you get into the parking spaces, I do include in my memorandum of law, and I came up with an analysis that as many as 20 off-street parking spaces were to be provided. Obviously, this building was not built with off-street parking at a time in 1921 when no parking was required. We have also included that there are other parking lots that we have been able to locate where off-street parking spaces could be rented. One of those are at $50 a month per space. So it's pretty expensive. So I'd ask for the board's discretion to not, provide a requirement of 20 rental spaces. I think it would be ineffective and cost prohibitive. There's also some discussions with a nearby church as well. So we could provide some off-street parking for the employees, but I don't believe that a strict requirement of the off-street parking requirements is necessary based on our non-conforming use argument. All right, Mr. Price and Mr. Rubina, I tried to condense that as quickly as I could. How about if we go through your questions and you tell me whether you want any testimony from our experts or from the applicant?
Well, how many off-street parking spaces are you prepared to provide?
So the property is built curb to curb. There is no yard, there's no setback, there's no side yard.
I understand that, Mr. Ho, but I mean, the condition on the last one was you had to provide off-street parking for employees and provide a designated pickup and drop off. That's the only real issues here. So you're not prepared to provide any off-street parking?
No, I'm not saying that. By my calculations, there are two places how parking is calculated. One comes from the city's zoning ordinance and the other comes from the state. The state has a requirement as to the type of daycare classroom, meaning the age of the children and the number of daycare providers. So there's a higher number for infants versus toddlers and preschoolers and such. So we've applied those standards for the different types of classrooms. And then within the city's ordinance, it requires one parking space for every 2 employees. So we have designated that we would need 8 to comply. There are 7 care providers per shift, plus 1 van that can pick up and retrieve children. So we would require 8.
All right, so you're saying you're gonna have 7 employees and you're gonna have a company van. So you need 8 off-street parking spaces.
Correct.
And that's based on the demographics of the children in the daycare.
Correct.
All right. I don't have any other questions.
All right. Mr. Barrs, questions?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Fox?
Just to clarify something, Mr. Ho, do we have those? Do you have those 8 spaces?
So we have I have a verbal agreement from one of the owners of the lot that there are spaces available that he can rent for $50. And the applicant has also contacted a church that would be less expensive and closer, but that's not been consummated yet.
And where is this lot located that you can mention?
The one that where they're available is at 10th and Cotton. It's 2 blocks away.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, Mr. Fox. Mr. Jones?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Gatone?
No questions.
Mr. Harsh?
No questions.
Does your applicant own any other properties that have parking on them? What I'm thinking is, if you've got a van, maybe you could transport your employees and that would resolve the parking issue.
So he is here and he also operates another daycare center in the city of Reading, has an excellent record, no problems. So he's a very responsible operator. If you'd like him, if you want to swear him in or have him answer that directly. I know we're trying to speed things along in the interest of time.
Well, no, I would like to hear from him because parking is definitely a critical issue. So let's swear him in quickly, and I think he knows the question, so it should be pretty simple to answer that.
All right, will you please raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your full name.
Osvaldo Rosenbaum.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. I think you know the question. If you have another daycare and if there's parking available there, or if you own other properties in the city where you could park your people, would you be able to transport them to and from as the shifts change? Would that be a possibility?
I will do the best, yes.
Okay, he said yes. Okay, all right, now. Anybody in the audience have any questions of this applicant?
I have a question, actually.
Go ahead.
So I did see that the indoor playground, what's the square footage of the indoor playground?
So we, at the time we submitted the application, we submitted the exact same plans without a revision from 2018 that Mr. Herrera provided. You do have those plans, and if you would like to get into those specifics, I'd ask Mr. Herrera to be sworn and he could testify. But the only amendment to that plan was he just changed the name from one owner to the new owner. That's the only change. So there's both a playground area for the first floor and there's a playground area for the second floor. The older children would be on the second floor. They can go up and down stairs more easily. The first floor would be the location where the infants and younger children would be located.
Okay, so there's gonna be two playground areas then.
Correct.
Okay, and then would someone be able to come to testify or state if they believe that will be at least 400 square feet?
Yes.
Yes. So how about if we swear in again, Mr. Herrera, and he can testify to that?
Yes, let's swear in Mr. Herrera. Let's have him testify, please. You want to swear him in?
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay.
And if I may begin, please, just I'd ask the board, are you willing to grant the same expert qualification as a plan designer as you've done in prior hearings?
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. There is a plan, and we can bring that up on the screen. Is it would the board like to see the specific plan in the answering of this question?
Yeah, I mean, that's a simple way to answer it, and Mr. Herrera can verbally tell us how many square feet it is.
Great. So, Mr. Herrera, if you could just provide some very rapid testimony, and then as the board has other questions for you, please answer their questions.
Of course. As Attorney Scott said, there is 2 playgrounds, each one on each level of the building. On the first floor, we have a playground, is the room number 112, that has an approximate square feet of 900 square feet. The dimensions are 14 feet by 30 feet. On the second floor, there is another proposed playground, is room number 207, with a square footage of 840 square feet. And the dimensions are approximately 20 feet by 30 feet.
Okay, thank you.
So you're welcome. That gives you rounded up 1,740 square feet, which is more than the zoning administrator asked.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, just two quick ones, I promise. First, Mr. Rosenbaum, you have a real estate company. You have the real estate as Rosenbaum Real Estate, and you're also going to be running the daycare.
Correct.
That is your real estate company. So your primary.
He's asking, are you a real estate investor? Do you
No, I'm not an investor.
No, but it says, I know it's in a couple of things. We have Rosenbaum Real Estate.
May I clarify, Mr. Catone, please?
Go ahead.
And has your wife, first of all, locked you in the basement? I see the rafters there in the background.
That's it. I'm down here, keep away from everything.
The land is purchased by an entity called Rosenbaum Real Estate Corporation. That's just the name of the corporate entity that owns it. and it's owned entirely by Mr. Rosenbaum and his spouse. He is not a real estate investor. He doesn't own, other than his one other daycare center. This is not a separate corporate venture that's engaged in real estate investment. It's just the name of the company that owns the property.
Okay, and then the other quick question, and it pertains to you mentioned about having the 4 parking spaces. But as you may know, one of the things that we observe in the Reading School District is not only the parking of the 4 spaces out there, it's in the morning and afternoon. It really gets to be a problem with parents double parking to pick up the non-daycare students. I'm sorry, the students that are not related to any kind of a daycare situation across the street or nearby. It really gets to be a problem. What do you think about that? Mr. Roosevelt, have you seen that? Do you have any thoughts about that? Any concern, or Mr. Hull? About the people double parking?
How about if I start, and then I think you really want to hear from the applicant. So why don't you, I'll give a quick, we've had this with a number of other daycares, and I think it's very important strategically. It's very helpful to working parents to have a daycare located in proximate location to an elementary school. And that way, if parents have maybe a 2 or 3-year-old who's not in school and a 7 or 8-year-old, they can go to both locations. I agree, and your long tenure in education, and Mr. Fox and Mr. Rabina, during that prime time of pickup and drop off,
yes,
every school, including our middle schools and including Reading High and walking the gauntlet of 13th Street, it's congested during school dismissal and arrival times. With daycares, it's a little bit more spread out. We have many blue collar working parents, some who have to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, some who work second and third shifts. So it's a little bit more dispersed, but that's not to lighten your concern that yes, during school prime time, it's congested. But in the grand scheme of things, I think it's more beneficial to have a daycare center located in proximate location to an elementary school than not. And there are no other daycare centers in this area. In the packet, A6 are 26 letters, all from bona fide residents. They're people who live right in that neighborhood, desperately asking for a daycare center because none exists.
Well, then
So-
in relation, you brought it up. It's a good point. In relation to that, nobody brought this up. How many children do you expect to have? That'll be helpful for our decision because it
Yes.
will determine the number of people dropping off. How many?
So- I'll let the client also amplify that. But in the plans that are submitted, it's a very big number. It's 176 students. And that's based on the requirements, only 40 square feet per student. And this is a very large building. This is an 8,500 square foot building. So now I believe that the applicant really intends to have fewer students than that. But it's now, they're not all, you know how daycare centers work. Some people have students there 3 days a week. Some have them there 5 days a week. Some have them in the morning or the afternoon. It's not all a consistent thing. But do you want to amplify? His question is about the total number of students.
Yes, about the parking, we're also gonna have designated staff helping out with the drop off and pick up. Since like Attorney Scott said, the drop off and pick up is gonna be spread out. They're not like the school, they come at the same time. And we're planning to have a lot less kids than that because since the playground is not a care space, it's just taking kids from another classroom to the playground. We won't fill that with kids. So we were thinking around 90 to 97 kids, which is a lot less than 176.
Is that over 3 shifts or is that at 1 per shift?
That's 1 shift.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Okay, anybody else on the board have any questions? All right, anybody in the audience? Seeing none. All right, Mr. Ho, anything else?
Just to conclude, thank you. I do like the board's approach here. So we're just confirming the 2018 decision and just focused on those specific things. So I don't think it's necessary to have all the evidence. I just want it noted, please, I'm moving for the admission of the exhibits A1 through A6. And I'd like the board's notice that we did have an expert plan designer in Mr. Herrera. Also, the realtor, I had her available to testify as an expert witness and the applicant. So I don't think any of that's necessary, but I just want it noted for the record that those experts were available and ready to appear.
Very good.
Does anybody in the audience, I didn't do this, but does anybody in the audience have any questions? And does anybody want to testify for or against this application? And I see none in either case. So we're going to close this appeal, issue a decision at next month's meeting. You need not be here. The decision will be mailed to you. Thank you, everybody.
Great. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. The next matter before us is Appeal 2022-12, 600 Spring Street. Douglas Development Corporation seeks a dimensional variance for the required setbacks for a proposed subdivision and development. The subject property is located in the MC Manufacturing Commercial Zoning District, and the owner of record is Jamal's Reading Station LLC. Is the applicant present? Or is their attorney present?
Yes, I am here. Hi, my name is Colin McFarland of Kozloff staff.
Okay, we'll swear in our zoning officer first.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry. This is the interpreter. I just need to know if you guys are gonna need me tonight. I just have an arraignment that came in. I need to do at 8 o'clock.
Okay, I don't.
The last applicant, I don't believe needs an interpreter.
Okay.
I think
All
you're
right.
fine. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You have a good evening. Take
You
care.
too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, now we'll swear in our zoning officer.
Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank
Has notice for this appeal been given?
It has.
Okay, Mr. Price.
Thanks. I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended. I'd also like to note that it looks like that conference table comes from Putin's conference room.
That's good. I love that.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Oh,
Will you be glaring at us tonight?
Oh, that's the best.
That is, that's good.
That made my night.
Without further ado, we will let the attorney present his case and swear in any witnesses that he might have. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. So testifying tonight on Douglas Development Corporation's behalf will be Philip Gardner, who's a representative of that company, as well as Scott Miller, who is their land use planner. And I'll start with Mr. Gardner.
Okay, and are you going to have somebody else testify?
Yes. Mr. Gardner will be testifying with Scott Miller. Scott Miller is Douglas's land use planner. He'll testify after Mr. Gardner.
All right, how about we swear those people in now so we can keep moving?
All right, can I get your name again, attorney? I didn't catch it.
Colin McFarlane.
Thank you. All right, who are we swearing in?
Scott Miller.
Thank you. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Phil Gardner.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes, Phil Gardner. Yep.
He will
What?
need to be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, you can proceed.
Thank you. So, Mr. Gardner, you're here tonight as a representative of Douglas Development Corporation, right?
That's correct.
What type of business is Douglas Development Corporation?
Real estate development company.
And has Douglas developed and revitalized numerous sites along the East Coast?
Yes, we have.
How long have you been employed by Douglas?
6 years.
And what is your role there?
I'm the director of development.
What are some of your job responsibilities as a director of development?
The acquisition of prospective projects, the entitlement process, maneuvering and managing the entitlement process, maneuvering and managing the construction process and the stabilization process through to lease up and stabilization.
And as
A given
part, of
asset.
as part of your employment, have you become familiar with the properties located at 600 and 650 Spring Street in the city of Reading?
I have.
Who owns those properties?
Jamal's Reading Station, LLC.
What's the relationship between Jamal's Reading Station and Douglas Development Corporation?
Jamal's Reading Station, LLC is a subsidiary of Douglas Development.
Would the zoning officer mind giving me screen sharing capabilities so I can show my exhibits?
You should be able to share, yes.
Okay. Mr. Gardner, do you see what I've pre-marked as applicants exhibit number 1?
We'll stipulate to the ownership.
Yeah.
We'll stipulate to the ownership of the
Great.
property. Let's get down to the meat and potatoes here.
Right. Mr. Gardner, 600 Spring Street is bordered by Spring Street, Railroad Street, and North 6th Street, right?
That's correct.
Is Railroad Street a public or a private roadway?
A private roadway.
And what improvements does 600 Spring Street have?
600 Spring Street is currently a existing former department store that has been vacated with a ground floor Family Dollar occupying approximately 9,000 square feet on the ground floor of the building, existing building.
And is 650 Spring Street immediately east of 600 Spring Street?
That's correct.
And are the two properties separated by Railroad Street?
Yes.
Did the improvements on 600 and 650 Spring Street, including the buildings and Railroad Street, predate Jamal's ownership of the properties?
Yes, they do.
Let's take a look at applicant's exhibit number 3. Is this the site of 600 Spring Street in the middle of the page there?
It is.
And let's take a look at applicant's exhibit number 4. Is this also an aerial picture of 600 Spring Street?
It is.
Can you explain what Douglas Development would like to do with what is the northernmost building on 600 Spring Street?
Yes, we are planning and have a fully executed franchise agreement with CubeSmart to build a self-storage facility. It would be owned and operated by Douglas Development, an entity thereof, Douglas Development. It would be operated by CubeSmart, which is a nationwide and internationally publicly traded self-storage company. So it'd be a self-storage facility occupying the entire footprint of the building.
So Douglas Development proposes to convert this retail space from a Dollar General or a Family Dollar to a CubeSmart.
That's correct. The entire building would be occupied by CubeSmart, and the Family Dollar would be relocated within the larger parcel.
And is a self storage use permitted by right in this manufacturing commercial district?
That's my understanding.
What would Douglas like to do with the other two buildings at this location?
The other buildings at this location are currently under review and design for a variety of potential uses, including commercial, primarily commercial. Hello?
Sorry, Mr. Gardner, can you look at what I've pre-marked as applicant exhibit 6A?
Yes.
Is the building on the right-hand side the proposed space for CubeSmart?
That's correct.
And in conjunction with this CubeSmart, Douglas Development is proposing to subdivide off that building, right?
That's correct.
Why is it necessary to subdivide that building from the other two on the lot?
For marketability from a financing perspective, certain lenders, certain potential lenders are more prone and interested in self-storage, whereas some others might be interested in multifamily, some others might be interested in commercial. And if we can peel this piece out and earmark it strictly as self-storage, then you're kind of you're narrowing your field and attracting lenders specifically interested in that market without encumbering the rest of the property.
So subdividing this lot will help you obtain the financing to convert this building as potentially as well as the other ones at the property right now?
That's correct.
Will Douglas or one of its subsidiary entities remain the owner of both lots?
That's correct.
Will the CubeSmart development be integrated into whatever likewise development occurs on the residue lot of 600 Spring Street?
That's correct.
And in connection with the proposed subdivision, 2 setback variances are required, right?
That's my understanding.
Is it your understanding that the proposed development cannot occur if those setback variances are not granted?
That's correct.
And that relates to the financing portion needed for the development of 600 Spring Street?
That's correct.
Does Douglas also intend on developing 650 Spring Street?
That's correct.
What's currently on that lot?
The current lot is a vacant, a former commercial space, and I think at a former time it was a train station. And we have a approved building permit or approved plans currently for a GoPuff facility, which is a commercial retailer, as well as a Three Rivers restaurant facility to go in adjacent to it, as well as an additional commercial tenant. So we're kind of filling in the pieces as we move around, taking this vacant space that's there and populating it.
I have no further questions for Mr. Gardner.
One question, Mr. Gardner, if a sale would occur sometime in the future from your company, Douglas Development, or Jamal, whatever it is, of this commercial storage facility, you'd be prepared to have easement agreements with the owner of the residue, correct?
That's correct. We're long-term landholders, however, and a sale was not contemplated.
All right.
And Mr. Price, for your information, we do have a draft declaration as one of our exhibits tonight, which specifies the obligations and rights of the party with respect to the parking, utilities, and access rights for both 600 and 650 Spring Street.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Anything else you would like to tell us? Continue.
If the board doesn't have any questions for Mr. Gardner, I'll present the testimony of Mr. Miller.
All right, well, I'll go back and check with the board. Any board members have any questions of Mr. Gardner?
Nope.
All right, Mr. Price, any questions?
I don't.
Okay, Ms. Diaz, any questions? None, all right.
Sorry, it wasn't unmuting, but no questions on my part.
Okay. And anybody in the audience have any questions? All right. Please continue.
All right, Mr. Miller, can you state your name and title for the record?
Scott Thomas Miller, and I'm a registered landscape architect and manager of land development services at Spot Stevens and McCoy in Reading.
How long have you been employed in that capacity by Spot Stevens and McCoy?
Actually, since
Mr. Miller's testified numerous times in front of us. We'll recognize.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've heard Mr. Gardner state Douglas's intention to subdivide and redevelop 600 Spring Street by changing an existing retail store into CubeSmart. As the land development manager for this project, did your firm submit a preliminary final subdivision and land development plan with the city for that proposal?
Yes, we initially submitted a sketch plan for the showing the proposed subdivision. We received comments back from the Planning Commission and their consultants, and then proceeded to prepare a full preliminary subdivision and land development plan for this project.
Mr. Miller, if you could take a look at what I pre-marked as applicant's exhibit number 8. Is this the plan that was submitted to the city of Reading?
That is correct.
And would you mind briefly summarizing the plan and Douglas's intention for the property?
Sure. If you could keep scrolling up a few more sheets to show the subdivision of the property.
Sure.
Basically, the entire property in question of 600 Spring Street consists of 20.49 acres. Lot 1, which is the area that we're talking about for the CubeSmart, which is up here in the upper northwest corner, is approximately 2.247 acres. And the remaining area, which is Lot 2, which is the remaining area for the property is consisting of 18.212 acres. 650 Spring Street, which is down in the lower right-hand corner, is actually a separate deed for that property. So as you can see, we're proposing to subdivide lot 1 off, which includes the north corner of this property at the intersection of North 6th Street and Spring Street. And the lot line follows the street right-of-ways for North 6th Street as well as Spring Street, follows down along on an angle on Railroad Street, which is again stated that that is a private access way and not a public road. And then the property line proposed is being actually right between the 2 buildings, or 3 buildings, as shown following the outline indicated on this plan.
Mr. Miller, does page 4 of this plan depict the proposed boundary lines for this lot 1?
That is correct.
Can you explain to the board what setback relief is needed?
So that area that's being between the buildings has actually been classified as a rear yard, which requires 20 feet. We show 10 feet along the perimeter, so we would need zoning relief for that. Also, too, is in the corner right next to Railroad Street. You can see that the proposed building encroaches into the corner, which is a front yard setback, which is also what we're requesting for zoning relief.
Mr. Miller, this may be self-evident, but why can't the setback requirements be met under these circumstances?
Obviously, due to the existing conditions that are found on the property.
Such as the fact that the buildings are already there?
Correct. The buildings, the other improvements were in relationship to Railroad Street.
And obviously, these improvements, including the buildings and Railroad Street, predated Gemel's ownership of the property, right?
That is correct.
Does the pre-existing nature of the roadway and buildings constitute a unique physical characteristic for 600 Spring Street in an attempt to subdivide it?
Yes, it does.
And why is that?
Well, obviously, the existing conditions restrict the full compliance with the zoning ordinance in this case to allow the subdivision to occur.
As a result of those unique characteristics, is there any possibility that this building can be subdivided off 600 Spring Street in strict conformity with the zoning ordinance?
No, it cannot. Not in our opinion.
And as you already testified, since the buildings predate Gemel's ownership, they haven't created this hardship, right?
That is correct.
Would you agree that this subdivision would allow Jamal's to use this building in a reasonable manner?
Yes.
And is that because a self-storage facility is a use permitted by right in the manufacturing commercial district?
That is correct.
Would any lesser zoning relief permit this or allow for this subdivision?
This represents the minimum that's necessary for the development of the property.
Would these setback variances alter the character of the neighborhood?
No, they would not.
Would they impair the appropriate use or development of this land?
No, they would not.
In fact, this zoning relief would help bring a use permitted by right to the district, correct?
Correct.
Finally, can you look at what I pre-marked as applicant's exhibit number 9. Mr. Miller, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It is basically a declaration of restriction and covenants for access, parking, and utilities to be shared between the development of 600 Spring Street and 650 Spring Street, which was required as part of the development process for 650 and will be required as part of the development and approval of 600 Spring Street.
So just be clear, this declaration specifies the rights of current and future owners of 600 and 650 Spring Street pertaining.
That is
to-
correct.
And pertaining to parking, utilities, and access, right?
Correct.
And Douglas had this document prepared by its professional consultants at the request of the city.
Yes, it was one of the requirements that they had requested for the development of 650, which we have conditional plan approval on. And we are currently in the process of seeking approval for 600, subject to the outcome of this zoning hearing.
And this document will be executed and recorded if the zoning relief is granted tonight.
That is correct. It'll be recorded as part of the recording of the land development plans at the Recorder of Deeds.
And does this declaration resolve any ambiguities in the chains of title for 600 and 650 Spring Street related to parking, utilities, and access?
It should address all of the concerns that the city has raised moving forward.
I don't have any further questions for Mr. Miller.
Okay. Any board members have any questions of this gentleman that just testified?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Any questions from zoning?
No questions.
Any questions from Mr. Price?
I have none, thank you.
Any questions from anybody in the audience? All right, hearing none, we can move on.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so
Move for the admission of my exhibits.
is there anybody in the audience who wants to testify for or against this appeal? All right, hearing nobody.
The exhibits are admitted, Phil.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Price.
are we all right? Okay, then we'll close this appeal. Decision will be heard made at next month's meeting. You need not be here. Decision will be mailed to you, and we thank all of you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, everybody's still okay? We'll do the last hearing, or the last appeal, pardon me. This is appeal 2022-13. It's 101 North Fifth Street. Christopher Heineman of Parado Builders seeks reaffirmation of the zoning hearing board decisions 2018 for special exceptions and relief, and an appeal of the February 10th, 2022 zoning officer's determination of adaptive reuse of the existing principal building for 76 residential units. The subject property is located in the CC zoning district, and the owner of record is Berkshire 2 Real Estate Holdings LLC. And okay, is the applicant present or his representative? Okay, you're present.
Yes. Yes, sir, Mr. Rubin, I'm present.
Okay. Let's see. Wait a minute. Do we want, let's swear in our zoning officer first.
You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Has notice for this appeal been given?
It has.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Price?
Yeah, I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended.
Okay, and who's speaking for the applicant?
I will be representing
Okay,
myself, Mr. Rubino.
then.
I also have Greg Boja from Boja Engineering, who is our land development engineer for the project.
All right, so why don't we swear these people in at this point, please?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Can
Okay.
you state
So
your name?
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Can you state your name? Who is representing?
Christopher Heineman
Thank you.
of Parado Builders.
If I understand this properly, you're a new contractor and you want to revise the floor plan for additional dwelling units over what we originally had approved. Is that pretty much a cover?
Yes, sir. That is
Okay.
correct.
Well, why don't you go through that, why you're going to do it, why you're going to make it a little bit more dense than it was before. So go ahead.
Sure. So back in 2020, the previous owner's representative had given a sketch plan done by Olson Design Group to allow for 56 units over the course of 5 floors that varied between 1-bed, 2-bedroom, and studio apartments. We assumed a general contract agreement with the owner of this property in October of 2021. At such time, we established schematic drawings and surveyed the entire building based on former BOMA plans that were given to us by Muhlenberg Green. Upon said survey, we laid out a demolition plan and further a new schematic floor plan in which we were able to fit 79 units over the upper floors, floors 2 through 8, while still meeting the zoning requirements for minimum square footage for studio, 1-bedroom, and 2-bedroom for the prospective upper floors. We also maintained that the first floor would be solely a principal use as commercial space. The second floor we intend as a hybrid use for both residential units and as well as a fitness center to better service the residences of the upper floors of the building.
Okay, can I ask you a question here, sir? It
Sure.
says in the application, I want to make sure that I read this correctly. Oh, it says something about the maximum number of students is 145. What students are you referring to? From where?
This would be the intended international students from Alvernia University, Mr. Rubina. So we
Okay.
have received an affirmation letter from the president of Alvernia University, John Loyak. He was trying to get on this call, but unfortunately I was picked last. So he's a busy man and what are you gonna do? But
That's going to be my next question. Do you have any evidence on behalf of Alvernia that they are asking for these units for their use? That's
yes, the letter from the president outlines our most recent floor plans. And it outlines the benefit that they see from these floor plans and from the residential units in the space.
Has that letter been submitted to the zoning office?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
And I
just-
believe, Mr. Price, you have a copy of that as well.
I do. Now, just to be clear, it's not solely for Alvernia. It's also for young professionals and the public.
That is correct.
So
That
it's
is
a
correct.
hybrid use.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to make that clear.
No, that's fine. So basically, at this time, we are asking for the reaffirmation of the special exception that falls under the Common Core zoning district to allow for to allow for the intended use of these student occupied residential units in our building as an almost adaptive reuse to the space.
Okay.
So, Mr. Rubino, the way I see it, the issues that were hashed out before were like transportation with Alvernia, pickup and drop off, parking. There was a, in the prior decision, most of the international students they said they would not have vehicles. Obviously, parking is at a premium on the streets in the commercial core district at Reading. There are 2 public parking lots, garages, one on Washington, they're both on Washington Street, one above the YMCA, above the railroad tracks at Walnut, they call it the Walnut Garage. And the other one is the Shirelli Garage down off of 4th Street, I guess, in Washington. So if there's issues involving parking, it probably benefits the Reading Parking Authority to have these people there if they're going to be parking in the garages. But again, the issues I remember from the last time were involved with parking and drop off and pickup.
Right, and I think the other thing that the city, of course, is concerned with is too much densification. But anyway, I'm going to start with the board members and see if they have any questions of the man that just testified. Mr. Fox, do you have any questions at this point?
Yes, Mr. Price had just asked a question about Alvernia students. My question is, you said some of these apartments, or how many, can you tell me, of the apartments would be set aside for non-Alvernia students? Do you have a number there? You mentioned the number of students. I wasn't sure, and I was going to ask the question Mr. Price asked about other people occupying the building, and you sort of clarified that, but how many other apartments would be available for non-Alvernia students? Do you have a number?
Not at this time. We don't have a concrete number. What I can tell you is that the intended use for the Alvernia students is the 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom units, which are comprised of 66 of the 79 units. 2-bedroom, 1.5-bathroom, excuse me.
Thank you,
Mr. Fox. The other units are 7 1-bedroom and 6 studio units. So again, it would be to allow for a hybrid if said units would be taken by young professionals to allow them into those units for either 1-bedroom or studio apartments.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bars, any questions?
I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, Mr. Gatone.
Nope, just glad to hear that they still going to be busing some of the students from the college. That's good.
Mr. Harsh?
No questions.
Mr. Jones?
No questions.
Okay. For the apartments that might be used by the young professionals or, people such as that, maybe business people, do you have any provisions other than the parking garages for parking for those people?
It would be our intent to utilize the parking garages to the best of our ability and have the residents, as they're establishing leases with us, I'm sorry, not with myself, but with the building owner,
right,
to establish leases with the parking authority. And we have been in contact with the parking authority concerning said matters. What I can say is that as the current use of the space is designated for commercial and currently comprises 16 different tenants throughout the building and is currently upwards of 75% vacant, their intended parking would have been to utilize the said garages as well. And for that reason, we don't anticipate any increased traffic or parking hurdles as well for the space.
Okay, thank you. All right, does anybody in the audience have any questions of this applicant? All right, is there anything else you would like to add at this point?
Yes, I would just like to go through the conditions of the previous relief that was granted for the previous owner's rep. In such a time, I was given back in October of 2021 a letter from Miss Ruth Sassaman, and the letter basically stated that the zoning relief would expire a year from its approval, which was given by the Zoning Hearing Board back in October of 2020. At such time, I contacted Dave Paris, who was the former zoning administrator for the city of Reading, and was attempting to work with him, Naomi Krim, Jerome Skrinkowski from the Planning Commission, as well as Jamal Abadalo from the City of Community, who is the Director of Community Development for the city. So we have been addressing numerous issues, whether it is the water supply issues. We have achieved a will serve letter from RAWA. We are in great discussions with Kyle Ziebler from Public Works regarding the sanitary sewage. Greg Boja has graciously provided us with an EDU calculation based on current water and sewer usage in the building. And based off of his calculations, we are confident that we will not exceed and need any more EDUs for the property. Mr. Boja had prepared a final land development plan on behalf of the applicant to the city of Reading. He also provided a traffic impact narrative and parking study narrative for the Planning Commission. We have been in touch with HARB regarding the plans and regarding any exterior improvements to the building. The Planning Commission had stated that they might enjoy some accent lighting on the outside of the building, as well as some planters. And so I'm graciously working with HARB on their willingness and what they'd like to see specified on the outside of the building as well. Again, based off of our current schematics, and as we go through building and trades, all residential apartment units and common areas will be in accordance with all local and state and IBC codes for building permits. So I'd just like that noted as well.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to ask any questions of this applicant? Is there anybody who wishes to testify for or against this application? Okay, Mr. Schuman, you're muted, so as soon as you're unmuted. Okay, you want to give us your name and your address, and since you're going to testify, we'll swear you in.
Sure. Alan Schuman, Schuman Development Group, 50 North Fifth Street.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Schuman, proceed.
Okay, thank you everybody for this opportunity to speak. I do have a copy of the letter provided by John Loyak from Alvernia, and it is very clear that there is no commitment at all from Alvernia to provide any students to here. They're just making it available for their students. I have the same letter for my apartment building next door at the Abraham Lincoln. We in fact have 2 international students who tell us there are only about 80 total. If you look at the number of beds in the plans provided, there are 340 beds provided in this building, well in excess of even the total number of students, international exchange students. Matter of fact, I provided a copy of correspondence with the head of admissions for Alvernia, who stated that they don't expect to get to the 300 number for at least another 5 years if everything goes as planned. So what I'm stating here is that I think when this approval was given 2 years ago, it was improper to approve it without zoning approval for the parking. At that time, it was stated that these students would not have parking. It has been confirmed that they do need parking. The international exchange students all have cars that are paid for by the Saudi government. In fact, the students that are at the Abraham Lincoln both have cars. This approval or moving forward with this project right now, there is no parking. To assume, and I want to go further in stating that the building currently leases about 100 spaces, meaning the tenants The commercial tenants inside lease about 100 parking spaces. Those parking spaces are leased across the street at the Abraham Lincoln Garage. Those spaces will not be available for new tenants in this building. The reason is twofold. One is that there is a deed restriction on that parking garage that it cannot provide parking to the tenants from this building nor the Madison. The other is that those 100 spaces have already been leased out to the new residential tenants that will be moving into Burke's Trust facility at 35 North 6th Street, where I'm putting in 40 units. So I just want to make it clear that I expect there to be significant parking problems here. To address those, I have approached the city and parking authority to try to get parking on the north side of Washington Street. This owner and the owners of the Madison have refused to participate in that, assuming that they will just get their zoning approvals without having to help actually correct the problem. I'm hoping that some pressure can be put on them to come forward and that we can get that parking put on the street, which will help alleviate this.
Mr. Schuman, may I ask you a question? You said there's an in excess of 300 beds.
Yes.
So in these 2-bedroom apartments, each bedroom would have 2 beds? Is that what you're seeing?
If you look at the plans, yes. Those were the plans that were submitted to the planning commission. Every bedroom has 2 beds in there for the students.
So if I'm going off the calculation here, 66 2 bedrooms, that'll be 66 times 4, correct?
Correct.
And then the 7 1-bedroom units, that would be 14? Or would it be
Correct.
7? 14.
Correct.
And the studios are they're just singles.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Price, if I may, the floor plans were amended. There was a drafting error regarding the number of bedrooms. Every bedroom will only have 1 bed, and so the maximum density will be 145. This was reaffirmed with the Planning Commission engineer, Jerome.
145.
Yes, that is correct. And said floor plans were provided back to the Planning Commission and to zoning as well.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Schuman, anything else?
That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else have anything that they would like to add? Would you have any closing statements, sir?
Yes, I would just like to point out that as the current use for this property is as commercial, I am also familiar with Mr. Schuman's letter that he had drafted, and it also stated, he had also stated that the Madison building would be intended for Alvernia students as well. And as the general contractor for said project, I can firmly tell you that it is not going to be for Alvernia students. So that greatly reduces the number of intended students that Mr. Schuman is asking about the Berkshire and about the Madison building to be only 145 total between TED 2 buildings. I can tell you that our intended use for the parking is if and only if a student would purchase a vehicle, and I cannot control, and no one really can control, if a student would purchase a vehicle, that they would need to establish a leasing agreement with the local Reading Parking Authority.
Okay, thank you. All right. Anybody have any questions or final statements? And if not,
So I just wanted to state that that letter from Alvernia was included in the with all of the attachments sent to the board. It was included.
I don't have a copy of that, but that's not to say that maybe it wasn't presented, but we definitely need that as part of the record.
I have it.
Do you?
It's in the application, yeah.
Okay, all right, then that's fine. I might have missed it when I printed it out.
Dated February
Urbina.
22nd, 2022, Mr. Chairman.
Can you repeat the date? What was that?
February 22nd, 2022. So it is only a couple weeks old.
Okay.
And Mr. Urbina, just for the record, this is Greg Boja. We had a
Yeah.
note for how the parking was to be handled on our plan set with the Planning Commission. that's consistent with Mr. Heinemann's testimony.
Thank you, sir. You know
Sure.
what? I don't think you were sworn in, were you?
Yeah,
I was sworn in at the same time.
yeah, he
Oh,
was.
okay, then that's fine. I just didn't want that to go unnoticed, but thank you for pointing that out.
Very welcome.
Okay. All right. At this point, we're going to close this appeal. And this will close our meeting for March. We thank all of you for your patience as well as your input. And Emily, do you want to leave us online like you did before? You know, after everybody's off? Can you do that or can't you?
I can do that. So I'm just gonna stop recording and then I'll hand control over to you guys.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You bet.